It was during 2022 that my husband and I decided to move. The soft hum of the city had always been a lullaby, a constant reminder of life bustling around us. But we yearned for peace, for the serenity only nature could offer. So when we found the house, a picturesque sanctuary nestled between trees and surrounded by lakes, it felt like a dream come true. The movers packed our belongings, and with the promise of a long weekend ahead, we set off to start a new chapter of our lives. The first month was bliss. The chirping of birds replaced the honking of cars, and the breeze carried the scent of pine instead of exhaust fumes. We spent our days exploring the forest, discovering hidden trails, and our nights stargazing, the sky unpolluted by city lights. But as the second month began, that dream started to fracture. Strange things started happening. It was a Saturday. The morning light filtered through the trees as I stood by the kitchen window watching the leaves rustle gently in the breeze while sipping my coffee. A perfect day to explore the deeper parts of the forest. "Ready for an adventure?" I called out to Sean, my husband, who was still upstairs. "Almost," he replied. "Just need to find my hiking boots." We set off after breakfast, following a narrow trail that wound deeper into the forest. The air was cool and fresh and filled with the sounds of nature. As we walked, I noticed something odd. The further we went, the quieter it became. The chirping of birds and the rustling of small animals had stopped and was replaced by an eerie silence. "Do you hear that?" I asked, stopping in my tracks. Sean looked around, puzzled. "Hear what?" "Exactly. There's nothing. It's too quiet." He shrugged. "Maybe we're just far from any animals. Come on, let's keep going." Reluctantly, I followed. The silence grew heavier, pressing down on us. The trees seemed taller than normal, with their branches intertwining to form a canopy that blocked out most of the sunlight. The path became less distinct. We reached a small clearing, and that's when I saw it, a figure standing at the edge of the trees, barely visible in the dim light. It was tall and gaunt, with long limbs and eyes that seemed to glow faintly. "Sean," I whispered, gripping his arm. "Do you see that?" He followed my gaze and stiffened. "What the hell is that?" Before we could react, the figure melted into the shadows, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. We stood there, hearts pounding, unsure of what we had just seen. "Let's go back," Sean said finally, his voice shaky. "I don't like this." We retraced our steps, walking faster than before. By the time we reached an area of sunlight, I felt so relieved. That night I found it hard to sleep. Every creak of the house, every rustle of the wind outside set my nerves on edge. I kept thinking about the figure in the forest, its glowing eyes and the way it had vanished. Sean was already asleep, his breathing slow and steady. I envied his ability to fall asleep so easily. I turned onto my side, staring at the moonlit wall, trying to calm my thoughts. It must have been past midnight when I heard it, a soft, faint whisper. It was so faint I thought I was imagining it, but then it came again, slightly louder. "Lydia." I sat up, my heart pounding in my feet. "Sean, did you hear that?" He stirred but didn't wake. The whisper came again, more distinct this time, as if someone was calling my name from a distance. "Lydia?" I slipped out of bed and moved to the window, peering out into the dark forest, but there was no sign of anyone. The whisper stopped and everything was so quiet. I closed the window and climbed back into bed, but couldn't sleep. Every sound seemed amplified. When morning finally came, I felt exhausted and my nerves were on edge. Determined to find a logical explanation, I spent the next day researching the history of our new home. Sean helped, though he seemed less concerned, attributing the previous night's events to stress and an overactive imagination. The house was old, built in the early 1900s, but there was little information about its previous owners. The land, however, had a more colorful history. According to local legends, the forest was home to ancient spirits and cryptids, creatures that lurked in the shadows, watching, waiting. One story in particular caught my attention. It spoke of a creature known as the Wendigo, an evil spirit with an insatiable hunger for human flesh. It was said to be drawn to those who ventured too deep into the forest, preying on their fears, driving them mad. How true this is, I have no idea, but I wasn't taking any chances. "Do you really think there's something out there?" I asked Sean that evening, sharing what I'd found. He laughed, though it sounded forced. "Come on, Lydia. Those are just old stories. There's no such thing as a Wendigo." But I wasn't so sure. The figure we'd seen, the whispers at night, something was out there, and it was watching us. The days turned into weeks, and the strange occurrences became more frequent. I would catch glimpses of the figure in the forest, always just at the edge of my vision. At nights, the whispers grew louder and more insistent. "Lydia, come to me." I started losing sleep, plagued by nightmares of being hunted through the forest. Sean grew increasingly worried, even though he tried to hide it. He suggested we take a break and go back to the city for a while, but I refused. I couldn't leave, not until I understood what was going on. One evening, I decided to confront whatever was out there. Armed with a flashlight and a sense of determination, I walked straight into the forest. Everything was quiet. I followed the same path we'd taken that first day. My heart was pounding, and I was so sure that whatever was in the forest could hear it. The deeper I went, the darker it became, until the trees seemed to close in around me. Then I saw it. A faint glow in the distance, the same eyes I see when I dream. I moved closer, my flashlight flickering, and the figure suddenly appeared from the shadows. It was taller than any human, its limbs unnaturally long and thin. Its eyes glowed with a whitish light, and its mouth twisted into a grotesque grin. "Lydia," it whispered, "I've been waiting for you." Even though I was paralyzed with fear, I shouted, "What do you want?" The creature tilted its head as if considering my question. "To feed," it said finally. "To survive. You have entered my domain, and now you belong to me." I took a step back, my flashlight trembling in my hand. "No, I won't let you." It laughed, then said, "You have no choice. The forest is mine, and you are just another prey." Before I could react, it lunged at me, moving faster than any human could. I turned and ran, branches scratching at my skin, the creature's laughter piercing my brain. The forest seemed to come alive, the trees closed in on me, and the path slowly disappeared. I stumbled and felt the flashlight slipping from my hand. In the darkness, I could feel the creature's presence, its breath hot on my neck. Desperate, I scrambled to my feet and ran, not knowing where I was going, just trying to escape. When I finally broke through the trees and into the yard, I collapsed, gasping for breath. I ran inside the house and slammed the door, my heart racing. Sean was waiting, his face pale with worry. "Lydia, what happened?" I couldn't speak, I was shaking so badly. All I could do was cling to him, praying that the creature wouldn't follow me inside. The next few days were a blur. I was afraid to go outside, afraid to even look out the windows. Sean tried to comfort me, but I could see the fear in his eyes too. He suggested we call someone, a specialist in the paranormal, but I didn't know who to trust. One night as I lay awake, I heard the whispers again. They were louder, more insistent, as if the creature was right outside the door. "Lydia, come to me." I knew I couldn't keep running. I had to face it, to end this once and for all. Gathering my courage, I grabbed a flashlight, and as I passed the entrance hall, I noticed a bottle of holy water that Sean keeps on a shelf. Sean is Catholic, and he got this at the Easter service in 2019. He's kept it ever since. I have no idea if this will have any effect on the thing, but I'll give it a try. I also took a kitchen knife, then made my way to the door. "Where are you going?" Sean asked, his voice filled with alarm. "I have to end this," I said, my voice steady despite the fear. "I can't keep living like this." He tried to stop me, but I pulled away. "Stay here. I'll be back." The forest was dark and silent as I stepped outside. I followed the path to the clearing, shivering the further I went. The creature was waiting, its eyes glowing in the darkness. "You came," it said, its voice a hiss. "Good." I raised the knife, my hands shaking. "This will end now." It laughed at me. "You cannot kill me. I am eternal, but you can join me." Before I could react, it lunged at me. I swung the knife, feeling it connect, but the creature only laughed. It grabbed my arm, its grip like iron, and the knife slipped from my hand. It pulled me close. "Join me, Lydia," it whispered, its breath hot on my face. "Embrace the darkness." In a moment of desperation, I remembered the legends. The Wendigo was a creature of hunger, but it was also a spirit bound to the forest. If I could find a way to break that bond, maybe I could defeat it. With a surge of strength, I pushed it away and ran. I didn't know where I was going, but I felt a pull, a sense of direction. The trees parted, revealing a small clearing. I desperately swiped at the cap on the holy water, and just as it came off, I saw it. The creature had followed me, its eyes blazing with fury. "You cannot escape me!" But I didn't stop. I lifted the water and threw it at the creature. The creature screamed, its form flickering, and then it was gone, vanished into the darkness. I collapsed, exhausted but relieved. "What do you know? It worked," I said to myself. The forest was silent as I started running back to the house. Sean was waiting, his face filled with worry. "What happened?" "It's over," I said, my voice trembling. "It's finally over." The forest never felt the same after that night. We stayed in the house, finding peace in the quiet and the beauty of nature. The whispers stopped and the figure never appeared again. But sometimes late at night, I would wake and think I heard a faint whisper, and I would hold Sean close. So guys, what do you think? Did I encounter something in the forest, or was it my imagination? I don't know.